Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I want to talk about narrative categories. So, dungeon masters engage with narrative in a way that no one has really done before in all of humanity, right? So, essentially, narrative has been this incredibly limited thing. At first, there were shamans, and they told stories in particular ways. And then there were authors, and they told stories in particular ways. And then there were screenwriters, right? And they told stories on the big and small screen in particular ways. And then there was the dungeon master. And the dungeon master surpassed all shamans, surpassed all authors, and surpassed all screenwriters, and have this unique ability to talk to four people at a table, change their lives, and change the dungeon master's life by using analogy and parable, right? And nesting lessons within stories. In my humble opinion, that's how Dungeons and Dragons works now, right? And it's this powerful structure for stories that matter, stories that demand change, demand learning, demand growth, and simply do not allow the people at the table to walk away unaffected. I think that's what Gary did. Is he delivered through the Dungeon Master a path to stories that demand immediate change and response, right? And so Dungeon Masters have to engage with narrative in a way that no other storyteller has ever been able to interact, right? So far, when we think about story, there is plain narrative, there is meta narrative, and I've talked previously about assigned narrative. I'll give an example of this. Let's talk about Hogwarts Legacy, right? It's a story, right? The plain narrative is here's another story about Hogwarts, right? The meta narrative is we are going to immerse you in Hogwarts in a way that you have never been able to interact with Hogwarts before. This story is an immersive experience in Hogwarts, right? And you are going to not have any limits on where you can go anywhere you want. It's an open world. You can go right, you can go left, you can go up, you can go down. You can talk to anybody you want. You can interact with people in any way you want. They even structured it, right? So that you can go Slytherin evil or you can go Gryffindor good, right? And moral choices are in the middle of it, right? That's the meta narrative, right? What is the assigned narrative? Right? The assigned narrative of Hogwarts Legacy is if you engage in this story, you hate this group. You're a group hater. You hate this specific group. That's the assigned narrative of Hogwarts Legacy. There's a group of people who are coming in and saying, we are assigning this narrative. This story, it means that you are fundamentally a group hater. You hate this specific group, right? And it's saying, if you play this story, there's a moral judgment on you and you're a bad person. Right? And that's the assigned narrative, right? What I want to talk about today is the collected narrative, okay? The collective narrative is something that happens in modern time, and Dungeon Masters need to be aware of it because it can happen with their campaigns, right? With the players who are at their table, and this happens because Dungeon Masters can have new sets of people at their table at any given time, right? Or they can have, so if you have four people at your table as a dungeon master, and then you run another campaign, two of those people may be the same and two of those people may be brand new in the second campaign, right? That's very interesting, right? And for that group of people, there can be collected narrative, okay? We just saw one of the first examples of collected narrative that's ever happened. Let me explain to you what it was. So, all right. In the past 5 years, the following happened on social media. And it happened across social media, and it happened with different posters, but it's a collected narrative, okay? So basically, 5 years ago, some woman, and she might have been in Miami or she might have been in San Francisco, right? She puts up her phone, and she is filming herself in the gym, right? And she's working out. And behind her, she sees this dude just creeping on her, right? Just watching her. Right? And she's like, oh man, that's why is he leering only at me and he doesn't look at anything else and he's not working out? That's weird, right? And then everybody else is like, yeah, that's weird, man. That dude was straight creeping on you, right? 2 more years go by. Or actually, you know what? If I said 5 years ago, 5 years go by because this just happened about a month ago, okay? And this woman And there was a woman, and it was very famous, right? Like thousands, it got millions of views, right? And it was talked about as a news story, right? Like, and this woman was like, "Look at this guy creeping on me, man. He's just, I'm here at the gym, and I'm just trying to work out, and this dude's just creeping on me." And a lot of people came and were like, "Is that dude creeping on you? It looks like he's just at the gym, right? It's not like, look at it. He's like, he's not leering at you. It doesn't look like he's creeping on you at all. Are you projecting on this guy?" Right? And then just this week, so that was, okay, so dude straight creeping. Dude accused of street creeping, and maybe there's a question mark on if he's creeping or not. Maybe he wasn't creeping at all, and this lady was projecting something on him that wasn't happening, right? Just this week, a woman put up a video, and she has a whole bunch of weight, right? And she gets a little out over her skis, right? And she has all this weight on her shoulders, and she's in the gym, and she's filming herself, and she needs some help. And she's like, "Hey, can I get a little help here?" And there's like a couple dudes in the shot, and none of those dudes move. They're like, "I don't see you. I don't know what? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not looking at you," right? Because I can't look at you. I can't even look at you, right? Because you're a woman in a gym. I'm a man in a gym. If my eyeballs even cross your plane, suddenly I'm a creeper, right? Like, and a lot of people came out and were like, "Ooh, look at this. There were two guys who could have helped this lady. She had, like, 100 pounds of weight on her shoulders, and she ends up getting stuck. And another woman comes over and finally helps her lift up the weight on her shoulders." And everybody's like, we've arrived at a point where if you're a dude, you got to put on, you cannot put your eyes on anything for more than 5 seconds. Keep your eyeballs moving. Keep that head on a swivel, right? And the collected narrative is, okay, creeper, accused creeper, no man can look at anything now. It's a collected narrative, right? It is a story being told by different people at different times, right? And each individual contributor to the story isn't even aware of the whole story, right? And we, as dungeon masters, need to understand that story can emerge this way, right? We have to be aware of how story can be told in unexpected ways, right? And again, we're dungeon masters. We don't function as normal humans, right? Normal humans are like, "Oh, I like the story. Tell me about Jack and Jill. They went up a hill," right? And they just deal with the plain narrative, right? We're dungeon masters. We have to understand plain narrative, meta narrative, assigned narrative, and collected narrative, right? What do we do with it? That's not for this video, right? The first thing, in order to master a thing, in order to know a thing, in order to use a thing, in order to value a thing, in order to turn the dials on a thing, you got to acknowledge the thing. You got to know it, right? So we as dungeon masters have to know we're not like authors. We're not like screenwriters. We're not like shamans, right? We don't tell we don't tell less important stories. We tell the most important stories in the world. And we have to understand narrative in a different way, right? I'm challenging you. Plain narrative, meta-narrative, assigned narrative, collected narrative. Acknowledge it. Understand it. We'll move forward and master it in videos in the future. Every word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments, send your traffic. Please consider, by commenting, please consider liking and subscribing.